Hey there, welcome to ATL and 29, a podcast that looks at the NBA from the starting point of Atlanta. My name is Kevin Chouinard. I'm here with Tyler Jones and Glen Willis, recording on a Monday night when nothing is going to happen in Atlanta. If the Hawks are going to do anything in the beginning of this postseason, they're going to have to do it on the road. They're going to Chicago Wednesday night. Everybody's going to have to stay up late to watch a basketball game. What are we expecting here?
Oh, it's on Wednesday too.
Yeah, it's Wednesday at
That
9:30.
yeah, that makes it worse for some reason. Well, it makes it worse for me because of my work schedule, but
Oh,
no, I mean, I don't know. Like they're going to need the Capella that they've gotten for the last month or so, if that guy's available, and then they should win just based on, you know, Nikola Vucevic being a very good matchup for Trae Young. Like Trae feasts on these types of bigs who can't really defend out in space or defend on the pick and roll. But I can see the Hawks, easily losing, especially without Jalen Johnson to guard DeMar DeRozan. DeMar does very well against DeAndre Hunter. Uh, and no Vit Krejci as well, which is probably the biggest story is that the Hawks decided to not sign Vit, so he's not playoff eligible. Um, how do you guys feel about that? Because I think that's probably the biggest story going on with the Hawks right now. Is that they passed on signing V to a NBA contract instead of the two-way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like there's a consensus amongst the people that watch the Hawks, closely that they need him, you know. And so from that perspective, it's a little unexpected, I guess, but to me, it's not surprising because when you look at kind of who they have, there's not an obvious guy that you want to cut. I know everyone's screaming Trent Forrest. And I get that. And on paper, I think that is the right move. And I think that's what, if it were my decision, I think that's what I would have done. But there are things that we don't know. First of all, like the Hawks could have converted him without it against his will. I mean, not that he necessarily would have resisted that, but teams can convert two-way players to a normal contract unilaterally. But um, who knows if that's what they wanted to do. The other side of it is they might have offered him a contract that he didn't want to sign now, if they didn't want to unilaterally convert him. If they wait until this offseason, if they want to lock him up for 4 years, for example, they can do that. And so it's hard to know if there was negotiation, if the Hawks wanted to do it, the Hawks wanted to do it, but and his reps didn't like the terms, or maybe he wants to be able to kind of, go into this offseason as restricted free agents and take offers from anywhere,
There, there,
It's,
there is some technical stuff because like the Hawks, I think the most they could have offered was 3 years after this season.
right.
They couldn't offer him, but if they waited to offer him a full like real NBA contract, not just to convert, uh, it'd be better to wait till the offseason to get the full 4 years on a lower salary. Uh, and something I've been thinking about, however you feel about Trent, and like Trent's had some good stretches with the Hawks, and he's probably somebody the Hawks would like to carry forward into future seasons. And I can understand if the rationale from the Hawks is that they didn't want to burn Trent Forrest for potentially one game. They might play only one game because they're in the
yeah.
play-in situation. They're not guaranteed to make the playoffs. So there is that factor. Uh, I think I personally would have done it just because Veet's been so good and they really need him if they're going to make a real like if they're trying to make a playoff run or a play-in run to maximize their chances in this postseason. they need V. Like he's like, I think he kind of established himself as being.
Yeah, I agree. I think the consensus is they need him, and
Yeah.
it's a little weird to me that they didn't kind of find a way. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be Wes Matthews because coaches want their vets on playoff time.
And so
You know?
when it comes to that, then it's like, okay, if it's not that, and you want Trent Forrest on the team going forward, there is no logical option. Like, are you going to cut AJ Griffin? I know he's had a disappointing season, but that would be that wouldn't be smart. Uh, Mo Gay, he been hurt all season. I wouldn't cut him. Are you going to just release Sadiq Bey and give up his rights because he's going to be hurt
Yeah, no
for an
way.
extended stretches? Like,
No.
these are the thought process where it's become okay. It's either Wes Matthews or Trent Forrest, and Wes Matthews, they just were never going to cut a veteran of Wes Matthews' status. Even if I think personally, Veet's been better um, in in certain matchups. In other matchups, Wesley Matthews has been just as good during this stretch run. So
Yeah, and if they match up with Boston, I mean, Wes Matthews is a guy they didn't have last year to take, some possessions against Tatum. We saw at the end of the last Boston Atlanta game that Glenn closed with Wes on Tatum, right?
Yep.
yeah,
And so that is indicative to me that he's kind of in the plan. I mean, if you want to kind of take a step back, I mean, it's hard for us to know from a distance what kind of emotions or how sensitive the Hawks are to kind of what Trent gave the team this year and things like that. It's so hard for us to know. But I mean, bringing Trent back next year they shouldn't need his early bird rights to do that. I mean, he's a guy who's going to almost surely be on a minimum contract. You can
agreed.
you can do
Right.
that when you're over the cap, it's all that stuff. But at the same time, I mean, Trent was with Quinn in Utah, and they go back, and sometimes that human stuff matters, even if I feel like it wasn't the right decision.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
to backtrack a little bit, I don't think Veet would have been upset if they just kind of went with the unilateral, hey, we're making you an NBA contract for the rest of the season. Like there's no downside to that for him.
Right.
Like he's still a restricted free agent either way. He would just get, the prorated NBA money for the one game and maybe like a possible playoff share for whatever they would get for playoff money. Like there's no downside to that for him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that would have been an issue, but to me, I think it was just either Trent or not. Like I don't think any other players were in consideration. And I mean that's me just guessing. But at the same time, like Tyler was saying, it could just be one game. And even if I think you could probably get Trent Forrest back next year if you cut him and wanted him, it's still just such an upsetting thing to send somebody out, right there at the end of the season for whatever reason. Like I think they would do it if it would have guaranteed them some years of Veet, but to just do it for one game, it probably wasn't enough to merit the pains of going through the transaction. And one thing I would add, I think that Trent and Mo have been kind of close. Like I think that's kind of a pairing that that has gone well. And there's just a human and a professional side to it, and just sending Trent on his way isn't just scratching a name off of a piece of paper. So it's tricky and it's hard to do for just a short-term conversion. But I think, had it assured them Veet more years, I think they would have done it. I mean, I think that's why we were hearing all the stuff about, we're still trying to work on it, is because if they could have got him for more years, they would have. But just to do it for one game, I think that's where they just kind of balked.
Yeah, I mean, they could have said, we're going to convert you. We want you to sign a 1+1 or
right.
Something,
and they may not have offered.
Yeah,
they might not have even offered
contract.
conversion. It might have just been here, sign this contract for the rest of the season and whatever future years.
Yeah.
And if not, we're not going to do a conversion. It's either this or nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
they could have very well said that.
Restricted free agency out of the equation, and then have a more advantageous position off season if it's a 1+1 or something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll also add something else cynically. there is something of maybe potentially trying to hide V because I mean this stretch that V Krejci's been on is kind of unprecedented. Like I've I've been watching basketball a long time. You know, not as long as you guys,
Kevin
but
and I
I've been
laughed.
watching. But follow me here.
Yeah.
I cannot.
Glenn's been watching a long time.
I cannot recall somebody improving this much defensively in such a like in a span of one season. He wasn't this defender when he got here in Atlanta.
No, he wasn't.
Like it's unbelievable. I mean, he had two possessions where he just completely took Halliburton out of his game. Halliburton could not dribble against V. Two possessions in a row, and I'm like, man, maybe the Hawks are trying to hide him, by not converting him, just so that another team doesn't try to poach him. I think the Hawks are going to have all the leverage, but if you look at it, like the Hawks now got a Jalen Johnson extension. They've got a Sadiq Bey restricted free agency to go through, and now even a V Krejci on top of that. So I think the Hawks they wanted to take. To me, I think the idea of taking restricted free agency even out of the equation for this season, just based on their salary structure, might be in place so that they can delay how much they can pay V, like delay just like his dollar amount, because he's gonna to me, if this is what he is defensively, he's gonna make real money even if the shooting isn't real or not. Just based on his other tools.
Yeah, I mean, so I know we want to get back to the Chicago game, but they're still he still fouls too much when he's defending bigger guys, right? He's got to get strong. If they want to use him in switchable lineups, he's got to get stronger, and he's got to improve his technique. So I mean, he's a nice guard defender, like you called out the defense on Halliburton, and when it's a guard. I think it goes a lot better when he gets switched on to a guy who's stronger, older guy who's been around, has kind of all the tricks, all the tools, and things like that. He does struggle in that. So there's still improvement for him to make. But the interesting thing for me, like for where we are with the Hawks right now, is heading into the off season, who is more valued by the team? Is it Veet or AJ?
I don't even think it's.
Kevin?
I'm not even sure that's even debatable.
Yeah, I think it's V.
Like, not to say that AJ still doesn't have potential here, but I could totally see the Hawks trading AJ for a different type of player in the offseason. Like,
yeah. AJ had such a good rookie year. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean
he still flashes the skills.
Yeah.
He did it against the Pacers. It's just like, but it's always he has a great floater with both hands, but he's got to utilize his size and athleticism more and trust that he can finish through contact instead of always settling for floaters.
Yeah, and Quinn just wants him to play faster, and I don't think he's super comfortable doing that. He's a more deliberate guy, right?
Yep.
So I think that's the big thing on offense. But going back to Chicago, I was actually doing a little prep, which is I know unheard of. Their injury report is a mess, man. I can't tell who's going to play on Wednesday. Is Drummond going to play? Is Caruso they got Caruso, Ao, Drummond, all three of those guys. I can't tell if they're going to play. And I think whether Drummond plays or not is kind of a big deal because the Hawks he's been an X factor for the Bulls in these matchups.
He's been an X factor in both ends in that he'll have a stretch where he dominates, and then he's like the reason why they're losing.
Yeah.
So, me personally, Glenn, I hope he plays because I don't know, he's just food. Like, especially for Trae Young.
Yeah.
Like, please let that man play so he can just take the Bulls out of what they want to do on defense. So that's not I get the offensive rebounds can be a problem, but as Bruno actually showed in the last matchup they had, you can outwork him
Yeah.
and you can outrun him. And if you play fast, he's not going to keep up. Like he's not going to keep up that level of intensity on the offensive glass. You can outplay him with your effort level and your intensity. But Drum is always going to have the good first start. But like I just don't like to me. I look at Drum. I'm like he has just stopped getting into the type of shape that he needs to get into, to where he's a threat for a full 48-minute game. He's gonna have a great first step, absolutely. But like if you can weather that, he's not like that's not somebody I'm too worried about. I'm quite frankly like with the Bulls. You always worry about DeMar DeRozan because he just has the ability, especially if you're fouling him, to control the pace of the game, which can be a problem. And Kobe White, who's like improved about as much as anybody in the NBA, is a real problem in this league now, along with their other guys. But if Caruso's hurt, that's a problem for them, because they really don't have any. Like if Trae Young is good to go and he looked fine, he's looked fine.
Can he dribble with his left hand right now?
He can fake it. He's faking it.
Well, that to me, that's like one of the biggest things I'm concerned about on the Hawks side is, they can generate ball pressure with Caruso and, and Ayo and Javon, right? And to me, it looks like Trae does not want to dribble with that left hand.
But it's a difference between not wanting to and he can't. Like I feel like he'll do it, but it's not with the he like he's not as comfortable as he used to be with his left, but he also might be baiting teams. I don't know. It's interesting to watch him play with that thing on his thing on his hand. So like we'll that's one of the things we're just gonna see. I personally think it's fine because like he's able to catch the ball with both hands. And he's able to at least do a couple of dribbles with the left. So I don't know if he can power through certain stuff and any hand action. Like I don't think he's been swiping at the ball with his left hand at all.
Right.
On defense, which might be a tell, but we'll see. Like it's going to be win or go home. So I can see Trae pushing through it, if that makes sense. That's one of those we're just gonna have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, we know he's tough, right? So we know that. But it might just be DJ bringing the ball up a lot just so Trae doesn't have to navigate the ball pressure in the backcourt and all that stuff, right? So they're doing a lot of stuff starting Trae in the corner, then bringing him to the ball. So I mean, there are some things that they can do, but that to me is like this matchup. There are aspects of this matchup that favor the Hawks, but that's the one area that just kind of makes me concerned for them, I mean, it's kind of funny because I had an expectation that Kobe will help with that, but Kobe didn't play against Indiana until the fourth quarter. Like, why did that happen? Do we have any theories?
I think honestly, it looked like Quinn was trying to see if he can get something out of AJ because AJ played a lot. If that he's like, because he does need if Veet can't go, and he can't, they made the decision. It was like, okay, I gotta try AJ. And I thought the last 2 games, Quinn's been trying AJ over Veet because Veet didn't play until the fourth quarter against the Timberwolves. I feel like he's been trying to see if he can get something out of AJ Griffin that he might be able to use. But I watched it. I'm like, I just don't. I don't know.
I don't think so. I would be shocked if AJ is like a rotation piece. Shocked.
I think I expect. I think Mo Gay might play.
I think so too.
Which is wild to say over AJ Griffin, who's healthy now. But I think that's the case. Like, I just don't think AJ's offering Quinn anything of real tangible value. Like he's not adding anything. Like he's not a better shooter than Garrison Matthews. And quite frankly, he's not a better defender than Garrison Matthews.
No.
It's like Garrison's completely taking his spot.
Yep.
And so then you're like, okay, maybe he can play a forward position. And then you're like, Well, if I'm going to play a forward, I'd rather have the 7-footer who's a athletic, freak of nature, who, is a lob threat for Trae Young over, AJ, who respectfully is only like 6'6". So, uh, yeah, I mean, what's going on with AJ is one of the more fascinating things that, like, what they're going to do with AJ in the offseason. Like, I don't know, because he just, whether he's healthy or not, he just does not fit with what Quinn wants, and like he's not playing. He's really not offering them anything that they aren't getting. Like, it's pretty wild to consider, like, all these guys from Kobe to Veet to Mo Gay to Garrison Matthews, all of them just immediately playing better basketball than AJ has this season. Like, just they've gotten nothing from him, and that's unfortunate considering how good he was last year. But the second, I mean, it's like the second Quinn was hired, AJ, like, whatever was working with AJ just immediately stopped on both ends of the floor. Like, he got more exposed on defense, and then offensively, it's like everything's just too slow, not enough force on the drives, too, like, it's just not. It's Quinn wants physicality on these drives. Like, he wants what he's getting from DeAndre Hunter right now. Not afraid of the contact, willing to go through contact to get the and ones, to finish through contact, to help the team win games. Whereas AJ, it's all flow. Like, every time he pumps fake, the release is slow with AJ. And then every time he tries to drive to the lane, he's always slowing down to allowing the defense to recover. And it's like, Quinn wants quicker decisions, and AJ's not bringing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even compare him to Hunter. I would just compare him to Veet. Like, there's a difference, like, in I think AJ worked well under Nate because Nate wanted a very deliberate offense.
Yep.
Where he wants to have a very deliberate offense, and he wants to make sure that when the shot goes up, his people can get back to set their defense. Like, just as long as there's sort of an expectation of, hey, everybody knows the shot's going up, he's going to be okay with it. Where, what you've got with Quinn is he wants more of a flow, more of a 0.5. You make your quick decision. If you're going to shoot it. If you're going to drive, keep driving. Like, he doesn't even have to be physical like Hunter. Veet isn't super physical on his drives, but he just keeps going, and he can continue the play and kick it and start the cycle again. Whereas when AJ does it, it's just kind of a dead end. Like, you're not going to get to the next play. It's just going to be pump fake, reset, and it's kind of a shot clock killer. And that just doesn't work with the way Quinn wants to run his offense.
Quinn wants you to attack the paint. And AJ's first option is always, when he gets to close out defenders, he wants to dribble, relocate back to the 3-point line. And that's not what Quinn wants.
Yeah.
If you're all by yourself and and the defender's going well past you, your Bogey or Garrison Matthews, those guys, he wants that shot, but like he wants the default to be, if that closeout defender clears you, he wants you to attack the paint, drive and kick, drive and kick, drive and kick. And that's just not in AJ's instinct at all right now. So it's just fascinating because I remember, I did a series at the end of last year with Brad, and we talked up his rookie season so much, and I think it was fair. He did a lot of good work last year, and it's just been a complete 180 this year for him. Wednesday, we were talking, Hunter kind of came up there. Does Hunter take all of the reps against DeRozan, or does Wes Matthews get some of those too? Does Wes help with some of that defensive workload? Because I think for me the key is really not putting DeRozan on the free throw line, like Tyler alluded to earlier, and forcing him to make plays apart from being a guy who can create his own mid-range shot or getting to the free throw line. Does Hunter get like 38 minutes all on? Does he match DeRozan's minutes minute for minute, or do you think Quinn kind of mixes it up a little bit with Matthews?
I think it'll be kind of like when they went to Dallas last week, and it was Hunter on Luka, and he kind of had the first quarter and he had the fourth quarter, and they kind of tried to triage it in between with Veet and some other people. Obviously, they don't have Veet, but I think they'll try to figure out some other things to give him a break, to keep him out of foul trouble. And Wes was shooting at practice today. I sort of figure that like you were saying, Wes is sort of the last hope at forward that can be somebody who could guard DeRozan. I don't think there would be anybody else. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to come down to those two.
Yeah.
I'd try Mo Gay on him. It's the play-in. Quinn, I'm like, they to me, if I'm Quinn, the organization didn't convert V is a signal that this team that they're thinking about next season. So why not try something? Like, why not experiment with somebody like Mo Gay? Because I feel like with DeRozan, you want to put size and athleticism against him. You don't want to put like guys like Bogey and DeAndre on somebody like DeMar who's even at his age still more athletic player and can get to his spots consistently. I want like size and length. So I would at least experiment with Mo, see what he's got in the first quarter. If it's not working, you can always bring Wes Matthews in quick. But I would at least attempt the option. I think Kobe, for as good as defender Kobe is, I think he's just too small for DeMar.
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't try that. I'd rather have Kobe guarding Kobe White or if he's going to play, which we'll see. But
yeah, he better play.
It's funny because I asked Quinn today. I was like, how do I put this delicately? I don't think Quinn is always the most forthcoming with his answers. Sometimes they're a little guarded.
He's a typical NBA coach.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's funny. Like I was thinking, when Steve Clifford announced his retirement, it's like, oh man, like there's a guy who would just tell you the truth. Like he's just gonna lay it out there. But going back to Quinn, and maybe it was, I don't know if it was relief or if I struck a nerve, but I asked about Mo Gay and he would just kind of gushed and really kind of laid into, talking about Mo's game and what he's got to work on and what he's figured out. And I don't know if that's because he's planning on using Mo or if he was just happy to talk about something that has absolutely nothing to do with the Chicago game. But I feel like they're going to use him. I don't know that they're going to use him on DeRozan because that just feels like a recipe to get to the free throw line. Like he's just, the athleticism is there, but there's just enough tricks, enough way to kind of mix up the defense and get him leaning the wrong way so that he can get to the free throw line. So I think Mo's going to play. I don't know that it would be on DeRozan, but I do think because there's just they don't have any forwards. It's DeAndre Hunter and Bogey, I guess, is going to be your starting small forward playing alongside DeJounte and Trey, but DeAndre's got to rest at some point. Wes is going to play at some point. Bogey's going to need a sub. Like when you just try to put some forward minutes together, I don't think you're really trying to put Wes to a really high total. So I think he's going to be used in short spurts, and I think Mo's just got to play. There's just nobody else.
I think he plays when DeRozan's off the floor, honestly.
Right.
I feel like Mo Gay on DeRozan is automatic free throws right now. Just like the experience differential is just too much. I love the idea of him growing into a role where he maybe next season, halfway through next season, whatever, he's kind of getting pushed more towards kind of primary defensive roles. I think that's great. I think he's going to be a really good player, but I think right now it's too much. I think he's on the floor when DeRozan's off.
To me, if Mo's going to play, they're going to have to experiment defensively. I think like a junk zone, a junk defensive scheme, regardless of who's on the floor.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be like complete nonsense. But outside of what the Hawks usually do, but to me, I think with his size, athleticism, and his quickness, they can do some interesting things with Mo Gay, especially at the top of the key against anybody. Like, just simplify his assignments on defense. Because I think they're going to, to me, I'm like, offensively, I mean, if he's playing next to Trae Young, Trae going to make magic. Like, he's going to turn him into an elite finisher because Trae Young is a genius. And, Mo just has size and skill, which is what you want next to Trae. So I think to take a complete advantage of what Mo could potentially give on the offensive end, like Quinn's going to have to experiment defensively, and he's going to have to try some stuff, and it might not work. And if it doesn't work, then it's going to have to be 45 minutes of DeAndre Hunter, because I don't know how else the Hawks are going to do, even going to have the functional size to compete with any team. Even though the Bulls don't really, the Bulls play with like three guards anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is an
Yes, but
interesting matchup.
yeah,
And
but their guards are very physical though.
Yeah.
yeah, but luckily, like when you got Capella, and Capella's gonna have to play a lot too. That's another thing.
Yes.
I actually wanted to bring up. Like I feel like the other 29 teams have realized Bruno's weaknesses on the defensive side of the floor, and they're really attacking him, particularly in space, particularly in the pick and roll. And he's really getting like he's been a real problem the last couple weeks, and you've seen the defense kind of backslide. So I don't know. I don't know if Quinn can get away with playing, Capella just 25 minutes a night. I think Capella's going to have to play 35 plus. Uh, and I don't know if Capella can do that, but I mean, he's been resting. He rested the last game. So
Yep, nice break.
yeah, so hopefully he can do that. But yeah, I mean, the Hawks just, I mean, the injuries, that's been the story of the season. Like it's unfortunate how much injuries have played a toll on the team, considering how much better they've gotten as a team at the same time. So that stinks as a fan. Uh, just talking about this game against the Bulls, I still think at the end of the day, I just think Trey's the best player on the floor. And with the Bulls not really having rim protection, uh, Trey can really put these guys in positions to really expose them for their weaknesses on that side, on the defensive side of the floor. Even though the Bulls are a very good defensive team, I think it's just a bad matchup for Chicago overall, considering their personnel. Like they don't really
Yeah,
have big size forwards, so they can't really take advantage of what the Hawks lack right
yeah, yeah. If when it comes to DeRozan, which to me I think that's the biggest key for the Hawks. It's not letting him catch the ball on his spots. He has like three spots he likes to catch the ball. And if you let him catch the ball there, he has every move, from those three spots. He loves the ball down on the left baseline, where it's harder to get a help defender to him unless you bring it across the baseline side. And he's not the most advanced passer. He's functional. But that's interesting there. He loves to operate right at the nail, where when the ball's right in the middle of the floor, the help principles are a little bit more confusing because there's not an obvious strong and weak side. And so it's harder for the defense to communicate through that. And DeRozan kind of plays in that little pocket there and makes it harder. And then he loves the left elbow, right? He's a little bit like DeJounte, kind of liking that side of the floor. Occasionally he'll go down to the right baseline, depending upon kind of what kind of that's where if he wants to be physical, he'll sometimes take a guy down on the right baseline. But left baseline, left elbow, and then right at the nail. If you let him work there, he's going to make shots. Kind of like DeJounte. If you let him dribble to his left and get to a nice little 14-foot step back, feels like they're all going down. And that's kind of how DeRozan is in those three spots too. So when it comes to Hunter, and that's where Wes Matthews' veteranship shows that he knows that stuff. And he's a guy who can, even if it's just 8 minutes or whatever it turns out being, is a guy who can try to not let DeRozan catch the ball there. And DeRozan's one of those guys that if you get physical with him and the referees are allowing you to do that, he's going to complain. He's going to get distracted. He won't run back on defense sometimes, and because he really wants those spots. And so from the very beginning of the game, that's what I'm looking for is, are they denying him those spots? And he's going to want the left baseline, and he'll kind of acquiesce to the nail if he's not getting to those other spots. So that's something to watch from the very beginning for me.
Yeah.
What are we? Any thoughts on the other playing game, Philly and Miami?
now. Better hope the Sixers win. Uh, because
Why?
I mean, if Embiid's healthy, with the injuries the Hawks have, like I just don't I don't see how they can beat the Sixers unless Capella is just going to match. Capella's A, not going to get in foul trouble. B, play every minute Embiid's going to play, which he might be able to. I think they have better matchups with the Heat because again, the Heat they don't really have the size that could really bother the Hawks in the ways I feel like Tobias Harris now with no Jalen Johnson could potentially bother the Hawks. Um, and I just overall think the Sixers just a better team, whereas the Heat, uh, I don't know.
Yeah, I
Miami's a
got
weird.
you. I misheard you, to be honest. I thought you said that we should hope that the Sixers win.
Yeah, when they're playing, so the Hawks. If the
Oh,
Hawks,
right. Yeah, sorry.
come on, Kevin,
It's
keep
not
up,
the
man.
it's not the regular playoffs, it's the
It's
play-in.
it's not a
Come
normal
on.
tournament.
No, it is not.
No. I want the Sixers to win, so the Hawks don't have no. So the
Gotcha.
Hawks on Friday get to play the Heat potentially. Just because I like the matchup. Even though Jimmy Butler, like again, without Jalen Johnson, really hurts his team right now. Like, Jimmy Butler kind of brings similar problems to what DeRozan does, but I thought the Hawks, uh, without Trey, when they played them, did a really good job on him. Overall, though, they were fouling him way too much, and the referees just fall for his grift so easily. It's one of the more embarrassing things.
It
Like
is.
at some point, referees have to realize Jimmy Butler has no interest in making a shot. He's just looking for the contact. Like stop rewarding this type of play. It's what's annoying to me as a fan of basketball is how Jimmy escapes certain criticisms.
Everybody's afraid of him.
Everybody's afraid of him, and it's so bizarre. I'm like, what are you guys scared of? Like, I don't particularly get it with that. Like, he's had some great playoff games, but everybody just forgets the the 3 for 15s, or like they forget like his bad games in the playoffs that cost his team a game where it's just it's bizarre because you look at his overall like playoff numbers over this stretch with the Heat, like it's kind of been what he is in the regular season. He's a good player. I mean, great player even, but like
But,
he's
but
not
he's just not
not
afraid of
some
the
mystical
moment.
month. Like he's
Yeah,
not like they talk about like he's Jordan or something. I'm like, yo, can
right.
y'all relax?
Yeah. He's just not afraid of any moment, and I think that's interesting.
No, I actually disagree with this. He's not
Okay.
afraid when he knows he's the complete underdog.
Yeah.
You
No
know,
pressure.
when he has no pressure. When the pressure is actually on, which is what it was in the last play-in against the Hawks, like he was nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think this is actually a good matchup for Atlanta, considering like nobody's going to believe the Hawks could beat the Heat in Miami, and I think the Hawks have advantage. Like Hawks would have advantages over the Heat, even if overall like the Heat are probably still a better team and should probably be favored.
There you go. It should be fun. Hawks did well in the play-in, so we'll look forward to Wednesday. Say good night, Bob.
All right. Good night, Bob. And thank you, Team USA, for not picking Trey.